going on, everybody? Sean Daniel from Guitar Control here. Let's be honest, you clicked on this video, so you're probably already a pretty classy guy or girl, and I'm sure you've already subscribed, so you kind of want to find some ways to sound absolutely brilliant on a guitar in a very easy way. In fact, kind of the secret to guitar, what we all want to do is to be able to sound better, sound classier than we actually are. And you're in luck, because today I've got some chords, 3 super simple chords, absolutely easy to play, no bar chords at all necessary, that are going to absolutely make you sound like the classiest guy or gal on the block. Impress all your friends, just add a touch of class to whatever it is you're doing. So basically this whole thing is going to sound like this, and you probably want to click the link below to grab the chord charts for these really simple chords that are going to sound great together, that you can play in any key. And just, just a massive touch of class that begins right now with this chord here. So if that is not the sound of brilliance, I do not know what is. And let's get right into it, because these are super, super simple chords, and we're doing this in the key of E, all right? Now, an E major chord, it looks like this is probably something you're already pretty familiar with, right? Yeah, I've just got my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, my ring finger is right behind it on 2D, my pointer finger is on 1G, and I'm hitting all 6 strings, okay? Now, the beautiful thing about E major is that a lot of these open strings are doing work for us. In fact, if we named the notes of this chord, we'd have an E, a B, another E, a G sharp, another B, and another E. All right? So already this E major's gotten us off to a classy start with this open, chimey type sound. But we're gonna go from classy to brilliant, and we're gonna do that by adding 1 note, and it's gonna make it an E major 7 chord voicing, all right? So instead of playing this E up here, we're gonna grab it on the 7th fret of the A string. This is also an E note right here, okay? And I still want that G sharp from that E major chord. It's 3rd in the major scale, which is the 6th fret on the D string. And then we're gonna grab with either your pinky or your ring finger, whichever one is more comfortable, the G string 8th fret, okay? So I'll use my pinky for this one. Now, this note right here is not in an E major chord, but it's in the E major scale. In fact, it's the 7th note. So when we add it, we're getting a major 7 chord by adding that 7th note in the scale. So I've got open E, 7A, 6D, 8G, open B, and open E. The sound of absolute class. That cannot be debated. That's just absolute, that's 100% fact right there. Okay? And the nice thing about this chord is really you can complement the open strings with it. So what I mean by that is when I'm strumming it, I'm gonna hit that low E string first. And almost the more of the open strings that I get to sound out, the better. I'm dynamically strumming this chord by not just going up and down the whole time. I mean, that doesn't sound bad, but does it sound classy brilliant? I don't know. You be the judge of that. So I'm kind of breaking this chord into parts. So I'm getting the low part of the chord to kind of establish that E-ness of it, and then getting the sweetness on top, right? Because that really is the definition of brilliance, if you ask me. Dominance and sweetness combined. I'm pretty sure that's in the dictionary. So we're getting the dominance of the low part of that chord, and then adding the sweetness of the open chimey sound on top of that. And notice how, if you look at my picking hand, I'm kind of going back and forth between hitting the low part of the chord and the high part of the chord, and interspersing them. It doesn't really matter how you strum it, but think of dynamically trying to break this chord into pieces so you can kind of emphasize different parts of the chord to add that brilliance on top of it. And then, what is that, you ask? Well, I'm glad that you asked that, because it is an E suspended chord, okay? super, super easy to play. If you ever played a power chord, which I'm sure you have, all it is your pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the D string and your pinky on the 4th fret of the G string. That's it. You can do it with whichever fingers you want to. That's fine. But let's talk about what's going on here. We've got open E and open A. We have that octave E again. We have a B, another B, and an E. So really, it's kind of like that E major chord, except instead of having a G sharp, we have an A. Now the open A string is there. Now if we count off the notes in the key of E major, E, F sharp, G sharp, A is the 4th note. So when we take that G sharp and turn it into an A, we're adding E's 4th, we're replacing that G sharp with a 4th, thus giving us an E suspended 4, okay? Again, the name of the chord isn't super important. I think it's kind of interesting to think of what chords are named and how chord building works. We've got videos on that too if you want to check it out. But basically, it's just a power chord rooted on 2D. And again, if you haven't played power chords, it's just, you know, anytime you have a root note, down a string, down 2 frets, you can move them all over the place, right? But we're doing it in a classy way today with a lot of open strings surrounding this, okay? So anytime, you know, you see an E major chord in a song, maybe you could replace it with this E suspended 4 chord or this E major 7 chord if you want to add that touch of class that we've been trying to ingrain in you for several minutes now into really any song that has an E major in there. Even sometimes E minor if you want to try to replace that with they're close enough where it'll work. So really, it's just something that I really would recommend you try. Just kind of get creative and like swap chords out from maybe popular progressions that you're really familiar with, right? So we've got 2 brilliant and classy chords that work really well together. But right now, it's just a party, and all we've invited is E and its chords. We got to add something else going on there. So like we just talked about, the 4th note in the key of E is an A. So let's invite A to the party, and we're going to do it in a way that is even easier to play than A major chord. If you've ever played this, I really like this voicing right here. This is an A major 7 chord voicing, right? So we have open A, 2D, my middle finger, 1G with my pointer finger, which again, we're kind of grabbing this from where that E major was, but now we're adding your ring finger to 2B. All right? And we're still getting a lot of these open strings. In fact, we can still strum all 6 strings to kind of add that brilliance to an A chord. Big difference between an A major and an A major 7. Even though you're only changing 1 note out of possibly 6 strings, that's the difference. You know, that's the difference between being invited to like the swankiest parties and just being invited to the regular parties, is being able to add that major 7 to your chord voicings, right? So let's start putting those all together and start working around the neck. These 3 voicings are also really cool because they kind of, you know, require a little bit of movement throughout the fretboard that isn't too bad, right? Very, very gently moving across the fretboard. So again, we're starting with the E major 7. To that suspended chord. Dynamic strumming, make sure to grab the low parts of the chord and the high parts of the chord too, instead of just strumming up and down. And sometimes, you know, you can still do like those full non-dynamic strums to an effect. All right, so let's go to there's a suspended 4 chord. Maybe let's go back to that A major 7 chord. Kind of build the dynamic into a softer, sweeter sounding chord like that E major 7 chord. And you can always end on E major, right? Now the great thing is, if we take little pieces of these chord voicings, we can use them absolutely anywhere. So again, something that I like about these voicings in particular that give it that class is the addition of the open strings helping us out. Right now I have 3 fretted strings in this E major 7 voicing, the A string, the D string, the G string, and 3 open strings, the E, B, and the high E string. Now if I just play those fretted strings, this becomes a movable shape. So this would be E major 7, F major 7, F sharp major 7, G major 7. I can go back to a C major 7. Still sounds good, doesn't have the class of all the open strings. Now sometimes the open strings will still help you if you want to do it on the C. That's kind of like a cool thing that you do, but you're getting a different vibe because the open strings are essentially changing the fundamental name of the chords sometimes. Really just experiment, you know? Doesn't matter what the chord's called. Does it sound good? Does it sound bad? Maybe not that one. Maybe not that one. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. There it is. There's that E major 7. Same thing with this voicing right here, the A major 7. Again, half of the open strings are doing the heavy lifting for us, half of the fretted strings are taking care of that for us. But if we just focus on the D, G, and B strings, this becomes a movable shape. A major 7, A sharp major 7, B major 7, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Again, E major 7 is kind of where we started this entire thing. Now, technically, like I said, the chord names aren't what's important. It's just finding a shape that really helps you out. Because if you take this shape and take the A and the E away from it, it ceases to be a major 7 voicing. It's actually just more of a minor chord. Again, that kind of stuff, if you're really interested in, we have more music theory explanation videos that you should definitely check out if you're interested. But this right here is more just about trying to make cool sounding stuff from different simple non-bar chord shapes, okay? So, I really encourage you to dynamically strum these chords. But if you want to get just the shapes down first, just one at a time. Shape number 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. All right. So hopefully this has added a touch of class, a bit of brilliance to your playing, and you know, this could be like the gateway into just living a classier, more brilliant life in general. So please, if that's the case, I would love for you to comment and tell us how this lesson has fundamentally changed your life. And until next time, we'll see you then. Since we're on the subject of brilliance, why don't you check out some of these brilliant videos that are linked right now, just a click away. And on the subject of class, why don't you subscribe to the Classiest channel on YouTube by clicking that guy right there so you get updates whenever new content is posted. We definitely always want your feedback too, so hit us up with other stuff that you'd like to see. Thanks a lot.